The chains of silence. The Velkari Dominion did not conquer with mercy. They conquered with silence. When their fleets descended upon Earth, the sky was filled with shadows of ships so vast they blotted out the sun. Humanity had only just begun to scatter into the stars, proud of its fragile colonies on Mars and Titan, and the first ships sent toward Proxima. But against the Velkari, none of it mattered. Our defenses cracked within hours, our governments collapsed in weeks, and our will was drowned beneath the cold, metallic rule of a species that had enslaved countless civilizations before us. The Velkari had no need for diplomacy. To them, humans were nothing but labor, adaptable, durable, expendable. Entire cities were stripped of their people, loaded into transports, and scattered across the Dominion's territories. Children were raised not as humans, but as property. Earth became a hollowed husk, its oceans and soil mined until even the planet itself seemed shackled. Commander Calethorn remembered the day he was taken. He had been a young officer then, serving on one of the last orbital defense stations above Earth. His ship had been boarded, his crew slaughtered, and he was given a choice: kneel or die. He knelt, not for himself, but because he knew his survival meant the chance to protect others someday. The Velkari pressed him into service as an auxiliary soldier, wearing their armor, carrying their weapons, and killing in their wars. A human, wielded as a tool against other enslaved peoples. It was in those years that Kale learned the true nature of the Dominion. The Velkari saw themselves as eternal masters of the galaxy. They ruled with fear, and they believed fear eternal. They thought humans would forget what freedom felt like, that within a generation Earth's people would be nothing more than obedient cattle. But Kale saw something different in the eyes of his people. In the mines where humans worked until their hands bled raw, in the camps where mothers whispered forbidden Earth lullabies to their children, in the makeshift hospitals where human medics fought to save lives with scraps of technology, there was defiance. Quiet, hidden, but unbroken. The Dominion had mistaken silence for submission. They did not understand that silence could also be waiting. Kale carried that thought like a secret flame. On the battlefields where he fought, he studied their weapons, their command structures, their weaknesses. Every order he obeyed, every alien he killed at their command, carved scars into his soul. But he endured, because he knew something the Velkari had forgotten: humanity's history. A species that had clawed its way through ice ages, plagues, and endless wars. A species that had never stopped adapting, never stopped fighting. The Velkari believed the human spirit had been broken. Kale knew better, and as he stood on the balcony of a Dominion garrison, watching enslaved humans shuffle past with hollow faces, he whispered words the galaxy had long forgotten. Not forever. The spark in the dark. The spark of rebellion was not lit in a grand hall or on a battlefield. It was born in the dark belly of a Dominion transport ship, among slaves who had nothing left but their will to survive. Kale Thorne had been assigned to guard duty during a border conflict between the Velkari and the Waisheri, another proud race dragged into chains. The Dominion was stretched thin, fighting too many wars at once. Kale saw opportunity where his masters saw routine. When the Waisheri ambushed the convoy, chaos tore through the transport. Velkari soldiers scrambled to hold their lines, but Kale did not move to aid them. Instead, he turned his weapon, their weapon, against them. 3 guards fell before they realized what had happened. The human slaves watched in stunned silence as one of their own cut down their overseers with clinical precision. "Move," Kale barked, his voice carrying the command of a soldier long buried. "If you want freedom, follow me." At first, only a handful obeyed, but as the clash outside thundered louder, desperation overcame fear. Dozens broke their chains, rushing behind him. By the time Kale reached the armory, nearly 100 humans were at his side. They armed themselves with stolen rifles, claws of rebellion clutched in trembling hands. Their escape was not flawless. Many died in the corridors, cut down by blaster fire. But when they breached the landing bay and saw the Waisheri raiders attacking the Velkari fleet, Kale seized the moment. He commandeered a damaged shuttle, patched it with whatever he could salvage, and punched through the chaos into open space. Against all odds, the shuttle limped to a nearby asteroid field, where the Valkyrie would not dare to follow. There, among the rocks, humanity's first free breath in decades was taken. Kale knew survival was not enough. If they stayed hidden, the Dominion would eventually find them. Humanity needed to strike back, to prove they were more than fugitives. They needed to show the galaxy that slaves could fight. The survivors became soldiers under his command. Farmers, miners, engineers. None had training, but all had fire. Kale drilled them relentlessly, shaping chaos into order. They scavenged wreckage from skirmishes, learning to bend alien steel to human needs. Dominion rifles were rewired into deadlier hybrids. Mining explosives were reforged into makeshift charges. Crude, ugly weapons, but effective. Their first strike came against a Valkyrie supply outpost orbiting a barren moon. Kale chose it carefully, lightly defended, critical enough to matter. His fighters infiltrated through maintenance tunnels, planting charges in the reactor core. When the outpost erupted in flame, the shockwave carried more than destruction. It carried a message. Humans had risen. The Valkyrie dismissed it at first, calling it piracy, sabotage by lesser races. But whispers spread quickly. The slaves of Earth were fighting back. In the taverns of alien traders, in the hidden camps of the enslaved, a name began to rise. Commander Kale Thorne. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a leader. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy trembled at a spark. The fire spreads. The raid on the supply outpost was supposed to be impossible. 100 escaped slaves against the Dominion's war machine. It should have been nothing more than a desperate act ending in silence. Instead, it became legend. Kale Thorne had not only destroyed a Valkyrie installation, he had done it with scraps, courage, and the sheer will of a people who refused to kneel. Word spread like fire through dry grass. On mining worlds, humans whispered the story to one another as guards passed by. In prison camps, old men spoke Kale's name like a prayer. Even other enslaved species, beaten, hopeless, broken, began to listen. The Valkyrie scoffed at first. One outpost, their commanders sneered. An accident. But when Kale struck again, and then again, their sneeze turned into fear. His growing band of rebels scavenged relentlessly, building weapons and ships from wreckage. Engineers who once repaired Dominion machinery now redesigned it, combining alien energy weapons with human creativity. Their creations looked ugly, jagged, unfit for war. Yet in battle they proved devastating. Kale knew humans could not win by fighting the Dominion head-on. They had neither the numbers nor the fleets. So he turned to humanity's oldest strength, asymmetrical warfare, guerrilla tactics, ambushes, strikes at supply lines. Every engagement was planned to bleed the Valkyrie, to remind them that every chain forged had a cost. The turning point came with the capture of the Krithis, a Valkyrie destroyer patrolling near the Nebris Belt. Kale led the assault himself, slipping past sensors with a fleet of disguised mining ships. His fighters boarded the vessel in brutal close combat. Dominion soldiers, towering and armored, fell beneath the fury of humans who fought not for conquest, but for freedom. When the battle ended, the Krithis flew under a new flag. Humans renamed her Defiance. The galaxy trembled. For the first time in living memory, slaves had stolen a Dominion warship. And they were not done. With Defiance as their spearhead, Kale's forces grew from scattered bands into the Human Liberation Front. Each victory drew more to their cause, not just humans, but Sherry, Torek, and countless others who had lived too long under Valkyrie chains. Humanity had become the rallying point of rebellion. The Dominion struck back with brutality. Entire colonies of humans were burned as warnings. Children were executed before their parents to break spirits. But instead of crushing resistance, the atrocities ignited it. Every death fueled rage. Every destroyed settlement birthed 10 more fighters willing to die for freedom. Kale understood the price. He bore it silently, carrying the weight of every life lost under his command. Yet he never faltered. In a transmission broadcast across captured frequencies, his voice carried to millions. They thought we were broken. They thought we had forgotten who we are. But humanity does not kneel. We rise. And when we rise, the galaxy trembles. And rise they did. Across the stars, rebellion spread like wildfire. The Dominion had ruled for millennia. Now, for the first time, they were bleeding. The day the galaxy trembled. The Velkari Dominion had never known fear. For millennia, their fleets had darkened skies, their armies had ground civilizations into dust. They had crushed empires, silenced rebellions, and rewritten history to make their rule seem eternal. But now, for the first time, their grip trembled. Humanity had given the galaxy a taste of defiance, and the Dominion meant to end it. They gathered their largest fleet in centuries, hundreds of warships converging near the Harkin Wormgate, a vital corridor of trade and strategy. To the Velkari, it was simple: destroy Kale Thorn and his rebels in one decisive blow. Kale knew they were coming. Standing on the bridge of the Defiance, he stared at the tactical display as icons of enemy ships filled the stars. His fleet was pitiful in comparison: a handful of captured destroyers, converted freighters, and ragtag fighters held together by human ingenuity and stubborn will. Yet his eyes burned with resolve. "We're not here to survive," Kale told his commanders. "We're here to show them that freedom is worth any price." The battle began with fire. The Dominion fleet advanced in perfect formation, a wall of steel and plasma. Kale ordered his ships to scatter into the asteroid field surrounding the Wormgate. The Velkari pursued, confident in their numbers, but they underestimated human strategy. Mining ships, disguised as wreckage, came alive, detonating charges that shattered entire wings of enemy craft. Human fighters lured Dominion warships into ambushes, sacrificing themselves to cripple capital vessels. Hacked navigation beacons sent enemy cruisers colliding with asteroids. For every rebel ship destroyed, 2 Dominion ships fell in chaos. The Defiance led the charge into the heart of the enemy fleet. Kale's voice roared across comms: "For Earth. For freedom." Humans fought like demons, boarding Velkari ships in close combat where their raw ferocity turned the tide. The enslaved races who fought beside them matched their courage, inspired by humanity's refusal to yield. The Dominion counterattacked with overwhelming force. Entire human squadrons were annihilated, their wreckage painting the void. Kale watched friends and comrades die, but he pressed forward. He knew this battle was not about numbers, it was about belief. If humanity could shatter the illusion of Dominion invincibility, the galaxy would never bow to them again. At the climax, Kale made the call that sealed his legend. He ordered the Defiance to ram the Dominion flagship. With engines screaming, the human warship tore through shields and hull alike, embedding itself into the heart of the enemy vessel. Kale led the boarding himself, charging through fire and smoke until he stood face to face with the Velkari High Commander. No words were exchanged, only the clash of steel and fury. When the commander fell, so too did the heart of the Dominion fleet. The battle ended in wreckage and silence. The Dominion had not been destroyed, but they had been broken. For the first time in their reign, they had lost. On every enslaved world, hope erupted like dawn breaking after endless night. The galaxy had seen the impossible, humanity had fought back, and the galaxy trembled.